What is up, guys? It's an important day in the culture as I'm filming this. Last night, Freddie Gibbs destroyed DJ Academics.
No, 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 no.
Virgil Abloh destroyed Pop Smoke's legacy. And of course, Kanye released a new song. So I thought it was time to get some hot takes in. Some more fashion hot takes. See what you guys are saying about the world right now and the state of fashion. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
If you see somebody driving by trying to sell you shoes out of a car or whatever, you might want to contact the police department to let us know. That's not normal for people to be driving.
Our first hot take is fashion is so ridiculously gatekept in an environment laced with toxic assholery. People need to ease up on their superiority complexes. Agree and disagree at the same time with this take. Again, we're going off of the idea that fashion is so gatekept and people are toxic and people can be mean or whatnot about the thing and need to flex their superiority complex. For sure, that can be a part of fashion, though I would say that's a part of any industry and any interest or hobby, no matter what. That's just the nature of life, is no matter what you're doing or what you're interested in, there are always going to be people who are going to kind of gatekeep you, have superiority complexes, etc., etc. Now, not to say that's something that can't get better in fashion, and that fashion definitely has that, but at the same time, I think fashion also has some really nice, great people who are in it, who are willing to help, share information, not have their superiority complex or ego all the way up to pulled up to their bootstraps or whatnot. But yeah, that can be part of it, but at the end of the day, I think that's a part of all of life, which is unfortunate, but also pretty true. I mean, we all like to spin this narrative of the fashion gatekeeper as well. The guy in the Carol Christian Powell boots who may or may not look like Connor Scoils likes to gatekeep you, and you know, you ask, what are your pants? And they just scoff at you and are like, it's Carol Christian Powell, bro. But I think that happens not as much as we would like to think. But either way, you know, definitely, I think a bit overstated as a take. I think a lot of people have that take, and I don't know if it's as realistic as everyone likes to say. I think a lot of that comes from the perception of like a couple of people as compared to the whole community, and just kind of like the stigma of like movies like The Devil Wears Prada, which has not that much relevance when we're talking about avant-garde menswear and streetwear for the most part.
Why are you showing me that horrible dress? It's not archive.
Don't have a strong opinions on clothes you haven't seen in person, because just because you have read a style zeitgeist thread doesn't make you an expert. Yes, this is like pretty, this is a pretty important take, I would say, because clothes are a physical thing. And while seeing pictures can definitely make you have an opinion on just how it looks, something that looks somewhat plain can actually be very cool in its material or fabric. For example, a lot of the military surplus stuff I have, I love the fabric and the feel of those more than I like some of the designer pants or jackets I have, just because they honestly use a higher quality fabric, or one that I find is more comfortable. The same goes with clothes. I think Carol Christian Powell is a very good example of this, or Comb, where they feel so much better in person. When you're like feeling a certain type of cloth and you get to see it in person, how it's constructed, how rigid or how soft it is, it really gives you a different opinion on something if you just look at it online. So, you know, I will always say, like, people love online shopping. That's how I cop most of my things, is through online shopping. But it's always a gamble, because you might get the you might get the article of clothing and it might not actually fit or feel in the way that you want. So there's always a reason to go to a brick and mortar store and actually try it on and feel clothes in person before you make a purchase decision. And of course, because this is a reference to a style zeitgeist thread, I would say there's definitely some stigma going on about people who are thinking certain clothes are better or worse than they actually are when they haven't seen it in person. And that's a very valid point. If you have not been handling clothes in person, I don't want to say you can't make a judgment on how it looks, but you can't 100% make a judgment on those clothes. But yeah. Streetwear is in a total bubble. Everyone thinks it's okay to copy and paste. You have the biggest influencers calling themselves real creatives for putting Pokemon on a t-shirt. Obviously, this is a reference to Ian Connor and his last Sicko drop, where he teamed up with the guy who stole his handle from the band Joy Division, and they put like Mewtwo on shirts. Now, a thing to say about this is like, yeah, what are you saying? Like, how can you sell a $400 t-shirt that has Mewtwo printed on it? But a counter argument to this that I think is definitely valid is if you look at designers like Vetmos or Margiela, where like Vetmos, for example, put the rat from Ratatouille on a shirt and sold it for hundreds of dollars. Similarly, so did Mason Margiela, where he put the character from, I believe he put Cartman from South Park on a t-shirt. Also Sailor Moon. So it's not that out there to say, why not put a cartoon character on a shirt and price it for a really high price? However, the difference between Sicko and brands like Margiela and Vetmos is context. Ian Connor is a dude who has pretty much styled A$AP Rocky, has not crafted a lot of really interesting clothing. A lot of his clothes are more streetwear focused. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, but I don't think it's necessarily adhering to an audience or asking or making any artistic statements in the same way Margiela is by putting Cartman on a t-shirt. Because when you have Margiela doing something like that, there's a juxtaposition because you have all these other crazy clothes and then you also have this cartoon character on a t-shirt for a high price. There's an artistic statement with that about high and low culture and what counts as high culture and what counts as low culture, and he's mixing those in a way that is pretty thought-provoking. But when Ian Connor does it, there is no idea of high culture or luxury in it. It's just kind of him pretty much printing Mewtwo over the Sicko Bjork logo and selling it for $400 for a cash grab. But there are always some cooler streetwear brands. But I wouldn't say Sicko is one I'm necessarily fond of for many reasons. But moving on. Alexander McQueen and his runways are very underrated. He brought a avant-garde look at high fashion and haute couture, which was much before his time. I don't think anybody is arguing that Alexander McQueen and his runways are underrated. If anything, people talk about him a lot, and he deserves it. He's one of the greats, as you kind of mentioned, how he brought avant-garde and interesting ideas into couture. But I don't know if I would say they were much before his time, as there were different types of avant-garde designers during his time and before him. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's underrated. I wouldn't say he's overrated either. I think he gets the praise he deserves. But yeah, Alexander McQueen, yeah, he's one of the greats. Making and altering your own clothes and garments is more impressive than paying lots for Kiko pants or helmet length cargos, etc., etc. Agree to a point. When you say making and altering your own clothes and garments, yeah, that can be really cool if it's done well, and it is a lot more impressive than someone going out and buying a certain piece when you're doing it correctly. A lot of the people who are making or altering their own garments, though, sometimes it doesn't come out in a way that I think is tasteful. No offense to them. You just kind of got to learn. There's many bad examples on the internet of people who make their own clothes, but legitimately altering them, messing with fabrics, messing with the shape of things you find at the thrift store in a tasteful, well-done way is extremely impressive, much more impressive than whatever you can buy if it's done tastefully. But of course, with the internet, there's so many examples of people who think they are doing that, And they really aren't. You see some cursed shit sometimes. People in the fashion scene should spend less time trashing other people's clothing and instead educate them on the harmfulness of fast fashion. I have mentioned why the fast fashion is so harmful a couple of times before in my videos. And yeah, that is much more important than what people are like trashing each other's outfits or whatnot. Yeah, I do agree for the most part. Chrome hearts is extremely overrated. Now that's a hot take. Yeah, it is, because as far as the people who are into chrome hearts and what is trending right now, it is just pretty much their t-shirts and their hats and those stupid jeans. Of all the brands you could pick, I don't know why you would want to make chrome hearts hyped. I don't know why Hypebeast picked up on that. It is somewhat interesting for its lifestyle things, such as like its jewelry, its belts, etc., etc. Those are definitely well done, well crafted, pieces of hardware. However, for everybody wearing the Chrome Hearts t-shirts with just like the old English font on them and the hats, I don't really get it. You do you. But I honestly don't think those are anything to be that interested about. I think maybe part of it was because of the Virgil collab with Chrome Hearts like a year or two ago, and that just kind of still resonating in the fashion community. But yeah, Chrome Hearts is overrated, especially for what it is. Also, I think Uzi came out with a song that had something to do with Chrome Hearts, so I don't know. I don't really care for Chrome Hearts that much. It's fine. That's all the time I have for today, guys. Let me know some more hot takes, opinions. Leave a like, please comment, do whatever just to support the video. And with that being said, I'm out of here.